Hey everyone, Micah Curtis here, and I don't know why it just dawned on me, but that I usually say my name incredibly fast. But to get the Micah and the Hatman channel started, I wanted to talk about something that's been interesting in regards to being a content creator over the last year. So I want to say that my account, you click on my YouTube page, it'll say that my account's existed since like 2009, and I have videos from around that time. But I never really took YouTube that seriously. I always wanted to be a writer. Well, writing, it had its ups and downs. If I had stuck with it, maybe I would be somewhere with it, but I decided not to. I thought videos were more fun. So when it comes to video content and YouTube as a community, it's really interesting to see how things pan out and how this large platform and the different subsets of the platform tend to evolve as time goes on. And one thing that I've found that's been interesting, I was watching this series of videos by the distributist on the alt-right, and I have finished none of them, sadly. So one of these days I actually want to have a conversation with him in regards to that, and in regards to atheism and Christianity as well, because he's a Catholic, I'm a non-denominational Christian. I think it would be a very, very interesting conversation to have, because we both had our interactions with atheism. And one thing, and you can see by the title of the video, that I've found interesting is the panning out of the Kilroy event. Now, the Kilroy event has seen more and more people get dropped from it, more and more people get pulled out, or who are pulling out willingly as well. And I find that interesting. So let me look at the speakers of the Kilroy event. So the honored guests at the top of the page are all people that you would expect to, be civil and have those discussions. You have good discussions and panels. Roaming Millennial, Sart Rowe, Peter Boghossian, and Christina Hoff Sommers. And then when you look at the featured speakers, it is almost all content creators, and some of these I do not expect to stick on here. Styx Hexenhammer has already said that he will actually not be doing this. Given the drama with him and Jeff Holiday, I don't expect Nicholas Goroff to stick around, or things like that. And it continues to get strange from there, because if I recall correctly, Jeff Holiday was supposed to be one of the featured speakers. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. He and Wizard of Cause, Goroff, they have a podcast together called the YouTube Saints, and there are other people on here, but they're mostly atheist YouTubers. So it's really, I think calling it a free speech event is a little much. I don't really see a lot of differing opinions, aside from Roaming Millennial being a constitutional conservative like I am, and looking through here, I don't think many of these people are Republican. Styx is, or he's a libertarian, but he's not going to be there. I know Nicholas Goroff is very much leftist, or a lefty, I should say. I don't know about the quartering, Jeremy. I know Matt. I've known Monday Matt for a while. I know he's a lefty. So it's an interesting dichotomy. There's not a lot of political differences here. I can understand wanting to keep things along the center line. I understand why they wouldn't want alt-right people. I can understand why they wouldn't want far-left people either, because of the sake of civility, because those two groups are inherently hostile towards one another. I can understand that to a degree. At the same time, one thing that bothers me is that there's not people of differing religions here either, but that's just a small criticism that could, it's a while until this event happens. So, and I'm still mulling around on whether or not I'm going to go, just because I think it would be interesting, and I want Christina Hoff Sommers to sign my copy of the War on Boy, or the War Against Boys. But the big issue that I've seen with the Kilroy event is encapsulated by two interactions. One between Monday Matt and some Fox guy, and another guy, and then of course Jeff Holiday and Coach Red Pill. Now, this is not about those individual people. So any of the four people that I just mentioned, please don't think that I'm talking about really you specifically. I'm talking about a issue that I'm seeing in regards to YouTube in general. There have been two come to the Kilroy events statements that I've seen, one from Matt, one from Jeff Holiday, and both of them come across like step into the ring. And I think that this is endemic of a larger problem when it comes to the platform in general. And that is that there is no willingness to have an honest debate. And even when there is an inherent hostility that goes into it. And that's one thing that I find very interesting. I can understand having big problems with other people's ideas or even personal issues. There are YouTubers out there that I have personal problems with, that I've had very public statements against them. But at the same time, there is a... What is the word I'm looking for? There is a necessity, I should say, for a certain amount of civility and discourse. And I'm not seeing it anymore. Debates specifically. Because people on the internet do not look at a debate as a way to learn from two people. I'm old school. I'm an old guy, I guess. I'm 32, but I don't know how that speaks on how old I am. I mean, to some members of my audience who are younger, that's probably very old. To some people who are around my age, they I guess we're in denial of how old we are. But regardless, there is a weird thought that debates are cage matches. And when I look at a debate, the first thing I think of is Richard Dawkins and John Lennox, or Christopher Hitchens and John Lennox. Both of which are wonderful debates if you want to learn about the Christian perspective and the atheist perspective. They're wonderful to watch, especially the ones with Lennox and Dawkins. And here's the reason why. There is a mutual respect between Dawkins and Lennox and between Hitchens and Lennox, in the sense that they are fully capable of understanding that the person that is across from them has some form of credential in which they should be respected. And I think that a calm nature of discourse is hard. I can understand that. The internet is very reactionary. But at the same time, I think that not seeing it is sad. Bearing is a channel that I really enjoy. And I don't agree with everything he's ever said. But normally he starts out calm. He doesn't necessarily start angry in his videos. And the fact that he's willing to be calm and simply look at the statements of someone else as statements, as opposed to looking at the person as an opponent, I think that ability is something that is just completely lost on people. And I think that unfortunately makes debate, honest debate, almost impossible. Kyle Kulinski is a good example of this. Kyle Kulinski is hostile to everyone who doesn't agree with him. It's just sort of his inherent nature. He's a very angry little man. Or at least that's my observation of him. Maybe he's not. Maybe he's actually a really relaxed guy. Maybe if I talk to him on the street about cheeseburgers, maybe he's a really nice person. I don't know. And maybe religion is just a hot button issue for whatever reason. I don't know. What I do know is this, is that you see the contempt he has for someone like Ben Shapiro. I see that and I go, that's an odd position to have. Saying that I refuse to debate Ben Shapiro. Now, there are people out there that will say that So the real reason that he's afraid to debate Ben Shapiro is because he just saw what happened to Cenk at Politicon, and it was a slaughter. And here I go, even saying that, talking about that like it's Anderson Silva versus Forrest Griffin, which in debate terms, you can see it that way, but at the same time, when I look at Ben Shapiro versus Cenk Uygur, if that had happened without an audience there, what would that discussion be? Well, it would be a discussion of a leftist, somewhere between the socialist line, I think, of the authoritarian left, and the neoliberal. I think Cenk's somewhere in there. He's definitely very far to the left in comparison to Shapiro, who is socially a little further to the right, where he is on law, where he is center right. And I think that there's a distinction between the two that I'll talk about in a different video. And remind me of that, because I will forget. But the fact that that was being treated like a smackdown, like it's this title fight for the heavyweight championship of the world, I find it very distressing. And there is a lack of willingness to return to civil discourse. I think that there is room for disagreement. I think there is room for civility within reason. But I think that also we have to respect the parameters of each person's ways that he chooses to interact with people. There are people that have said, why don't you bring on somebody onto your show that is of the alt-right? And I'm very frank about that. I don't have the capacity to have a discussion with someone like that because of how appalled I am by their belief system. I find it very disgusting. I find it uncivil or uncivilized. Very uncivilized way to look at things. So, but that's just me. Other people are more than capable of engaging with people like that because they're able to find a commonality. I don't see myself as someone with a commonality to someone who is of that belief system. In the same way that I don't see myself as someone who has any commonality with somebody who's a member of Antifa, because I would never sink to that level in regards to political discourse. Let me put it this way. I am still weeping, spiritually, I guess you could say. I'm weeping spiritually for the death of discourse in the modern day. The ball pit cage has become a meme about Kilroy, and I feel that it is sad to see. I would think that a free speech festival would have debates between interested parties. I would be interested to see Jordan Peterson debate or be invited to this and debate someone who is of the opposing side, or Ben Shapiro against someone of the opposing side. Get these discussions out there in regards to speech. Not to mention, and here's what I find interesting. This is a free speech event, and this just came to me. There is not a debate at this moment about free speech versus hate speech. That I would find very, very peculiar, very interesting. I would get somebody, because I know Dave Cullen's European, and other people that are interested in this event, are Europeans. Count Danko is a European. He is actually someone who's suffering under this. Why not have someone there that is anti-hate speech laws and someone who's pro? You can have a debate on one of the biggest differences, honestly, between America and Europe, in the sense of how Americans view free speech and how Europeans are very divided on the subject. Because you've got people like Dave, like Carl Sargon of Akkad, and then you've got people like Kevin Logan, who believe very different things in regards to free speech. And I think that that's an interesting debate to have, for certain. So I fear that there are missed opportunities. I fear that people are unwilling to draw lines and force their own lines. And I fear that there is a death of discourse going on continuously as time has gone on, at least here on YouTube. Hopefully, and I pray that this will happen, is that we can have discussions and disagree with one another as time goes on and still remain civil and respectful of the other person's knowledge. So, that's the long and short of it. To sum it all up in a TLDR sort of manner, let's stop making debates into cage fights. My name is Micah Curtis. I'll see you next time. Dave's Fault.